you so much, Beth. I am Dr. Christy Del Castillo-Heggie. I'm one of the co-founders of the Fed is Best Foundation. We are doing a series of video interviews with different moms, different backgrounds, and we want to showcase what their experiences were, the real-life experiences were with infant feeding, to show the diversity of experiences and to help new moms and second-time moms, or moms with multiple kids, to kind of navigate their own infant feeding experiences successfully. So today we have Beth Elston, one of the moms in the Fed is Best community, here to speak with you. And okay, Beth, so first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a general pediatrician. That's what I do for work, and I live in Colorado. And I joined the Fed is Best Foundation group just because it's interesting. Going through training for a pediatrician, we talked a lot about breastfeeding and how to support moms, and it made it seem like, if you just had the right position and the right ethic about breastfeeding, that it would go smoothly. And then with the birth of my first child, I found that was way off. And I had a lot of struggles with feeding my first child that I felt was really never addressed, and that nobody ever spoke about, like the things that could go wrong with breastfeeding. And it was just nice to have a support community that had similar experiences, and to not feel like I was alone in having these struggles and these issues.
What was, tell me some of the things that happened. What were your expectations of what should have happened, and what ultimately happened during your first time infant feeding experience?
So my expectations going in, again, I think it was, mostly based out of my training of like, oh, well, if I just, always breastfeed, like never offer a bottle, if I just have my infant in the right position and make sure that the latch is good, like everything will go smoothly, my kid will be fed and happy, and there won't be any issues with breastfeeding. And it might be a rough start, but it will ultimately like work its way out, and your body will make the milk that it needs to for your child. And what I found was, even when I followed like all of the lactation recommendations, including like power pumping and being on the galactagogues, and like I took an insane amount of fenugreek, like to the point that was probably not good for me. I still could only make an ounce, which is not, my baby needed more than what I could make for her. And there was this weird emotional tie to it as well, like that I felt like somehow I was failing my child because I couldn't feed them. And I was somehow a subpar mother because I wasn't able to feed my child. I spent a lot of time crying. My poor husband came home to find me crying at like random moments during the day, and he didn't know really how to support me or help me. And to this day I get a little bit emotional talking about it, because there is such a pressure to breastfeed your child.
Sorry, I'm feeling you. How has that experience changed your perspectives for other moms, just, your friends, community members, and maybe even your patients? How has that, if it has changed what you do and what you think as you support other moms?
It's definitely like, wow. I remember my sister-in-law chose to bottle feed her child, and she had a child before I ever did. And I was kind of like, that's an interesting choice, but okay. And I have to admit, I was a little judgmental. And now I definitely support people feeding their child in whatever way is best. And I understand the struggles of breastfeeding. And when I see a mom who, like has the tears in the corner of her eye as she's struggling to breastfeed her child in the clinic, like I tell her that it's, it's okay to supplement with formula. It's okay to completely bottle feed. There's a lot of different ways to feed your child. And feeding your kid is only one small part of being a mom. And that you have a lot a lot else to offer your kid besides just feeding them, and they're going to be happy and healthy. And if you look at a bunch of kindergartners, you're never going to be able to pick out like who was breastfed, who was bottle fed, who was combo fed. Nobody knows.
If there was one thing you could tell yourself, if you could go back in time, tell yourself one thing, one piece of advice as a new mom, what would it be?
I would tell myself to be a lot easier on myself, and if be kinder to myself as well, and kind of lower the expectations, and again tell myself that there's a lot more to being a mom than being able to breastfeed my child, and that my kid will be happy and healthy whether she gets formula or she gets breast milk, whether she gets a combination of the two.
And what do you think that health professionals and health educators could do differently to support moms?
I think as a health professional, I think what we can do more is just kind of lay the groundwork that like we would love to have people breastfeed, but it doesn't always go well, and kind of have that groundwork with pregnant and expecting mothers, as well as postpartum mothers, saying, hey, you know what, breastfeeding does not always go well. You can always try. And support their decisions too. If they walk in and they say, I want to formula feed my child from day one, support that decision and let them know that their kid is going to be healthy and happy with whatever way they choose to feed their kid, and that there's not going to be any problems down the road if they choose to formula feed, breastfeed, combo feed, and just kind of lay that expectation instead of pounding into mothers' heads that we have to breastfeed exclusively. I think the Breast is Best and the breastfeeding initiative hospitals are actually a detriment to mothers, and probably stimulate a lot more postpartum depression than we know.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. How are you doing now?
Doing great. Actually, I had another baby, and I was able to breastfeed her for a little bit longer, and I still had some weird emotional ties with breastfeeding her, and like shooting daggers at my husband when he is like, why don't I just feed her some formula so you can get some rest? I was like, ugh, I want this to work.
Yes.
But definitely a lot less hard on myself, and she's now mostly formula fed and happy, and I'm happy. So and it's definitely changed the way that I've approached breastfeeding as a pediatrician with my new moms too. So it's been nice to be able to connect to them.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad, and I'm so glad to see you again.
Yeah, I'm so glad to see you too.
I've known Beth for a while now, actually. So, and I had no idea she was in our support group until she.
A stealth. I was flying under the radar.
Oh yeah, no, it's awesome. I get it, and we respect everyone's privacy, and we honor everyone's needs. All right. Oh, Beth, hugs to you.
Hugs to you too. Thank you so much for doing this, and I'm so excited that this group exists.
Oh, thank you, and we're so glad that you're part of
it. Yay.
Okay, talk to you later, Beth.
All right, bye, Christy.
Bye.